Hi everyone, back today with another video. This is just a quick video on how I'm doing my auction house sales. I talk about them a fair bit and I've shown you a little bit of what I do in other videos, but this video is just dedicated to how I list things on the auction house and sell them. The things I make, like the enchants and the tailoring gear. And I don't just, when I want to sit there and make a ton of gold, I don't just list and run away. That does work, but you make like a quarter of the gold you would if you sat there and gave it a dedicated effort. So I'm just going to talk to you today about some of the things I do during this time, what I'm finding is working, and how I decide what things to kind of put all this effort into to make the most profit possible. So I use two add-ons, Auctionator and Craft Sim, and I find they work really well together. Some people use TSM, but I prefer Auctionator. TSM, I'm sure it's much better, but it's just too many options for me. My brain needs simple. If I'm going to sit here and do this, I don't want to fry my brain while doing it. And Auctionator works well for my not math brain. So what I do is I go to the auction house, I go to the Auctionator tab at the bottom, and I run the auction house scan. That's where I start before I sit and do one of these auction house sessions. And then once that's finished, I log in, I go to my crafting buttons and check what's in there, because once I've run the full scan, Craft Sim is almost always up to date. Sometimes it has errors. If something seems unbelievable, check it, because it probably is. But for the most part, I would say it has about a 90% accuracy in terms of profit margins and how much it's going to cost you to make these things. So I use those two add-ons to do this. So once I've run that scan, I go primarily to my enchanting craft, just because that's what sells the fastest, that's what sells the most. With the tailoring, I'll start there because it's the simplest. With the tailoring, I make all of the accessory gear for the for professions basically, and I keep three of max level. I can make the max level stuff. I'm just specced out that way. It's easy. It takes no concentration. I can do it with bronze mats. I make three of the max level accessory things and leave them on the auction house at all times. I don't have less than three unless they sold in between me being at the auction house. So I have three of each, and I just make sure I'm first. So there's just a tiny amount of competition there for tailoring. Those things don't sell as fast. You can see here in this video, the enchants are just selling like crazy. Pretty much as fast as I'm listing them, things are selling. But with the tailoring thing, it takes a little bit. So I don't sit on the auction house for my tailor. When I'm there with my enchanter, I will check to see if I'm first in the line. So if you go to the counseling tab in Auctionator and run the undercut scan, it'll say yes or no as to whether or not somebody has listed in front of you. Now, with undercutting, you don't have to undercut the price at all. You don't even have to be one silver down. You just have to have been the most recent person to have listed at that price to be the first in the line. So that's what I do to maximize profit. I don't want to undercut anybody. I don't want my profit to be less than I can possibly make it. I don't want to be like, that person's listing it for this, I'll go 20 gold under. I want it to be exactly the same, just the front of the line. And that's what I do there. An auctionator really helps you do that. So I list three of all of the accessory things for the tailor, and I also make the Pioneer gear. Now, I don't make all of the Pioneer gear because there's the level 80 stuff, and that doesn't sell well except for sometimes cloaks. So occasionally I'll make cloaks if the profit margin there is nice, but mostly I focus on making the level 71 stuff. At the moment, they are selling really well. I could sell 2 to 5 of those a day for each of them. They're selling very well because everybody's coming back and gearing alts in anticipation for the next season. And there's a lot of speculation about what kind of spec changes are coming and what kind of class will be the new best class. People who are dedicated raiders and dedicated mythic players are going to want the best class in their field, their DPS or their tanking field or their healing. And those people will level another alt to have the best, which means they need to gear another alt to have the best. And I'm taking advantage of that with the Pioneer gear. So the level 71 stuff there is what I'm making. I'm also making the Weaver cloth bags, just the basic ones, not the fancy ones. And I'm making 5 to 10 of those at a time, because when somebody is gearing an alt, they need 5 bags. So I make 5 at a minimum, and I make 10 if I think I'm going to be away from the auction house for a while, or if they're just selling really fast. So you see here in this video, I went and made 10 at one point and listed them because all the ones I had on sold, and then all 10 sold while I was making this video as well. So I've sold 15 bags in that time frame. So it just really depends on the day and what people are doing. But that lower level gearing alt things, the level 71 and the bags do very well. So don't underestimate them, but they don't make anywhere near as much profit as my enchanting does. So I only have a tailor and enchanting point of view here, but I think if you're a crafter that makes gear, it would still apply for you here with the tailoring. If you had a blacksmith or a leather worker, making that level 71 gear is still going to do very well. Just think when you're looking at your gear, what would I buy if I was leveling an alt? If I had an insane amount of gold, what would I buy if I was leveling an alt? And make those things. So check the craft scan with the auctionator to see, make sure they're making profit, because I don't know what's making profit in other professions, but I know in tailoring those lower level things only take a few mats and you can make the top tier stuff and they sell very well. So have a look. I know I'm talking about tailoring, but I really do feel like this would be across professions because I can only make cloth and tanks don't wear cloth, and there has to be more DPS classes that are doing very well than just clothies. So the primary focus of my auction house sitting, which one of my commenters actually pointed out that it's PvP for goblins, and I just love that. So PvP for gold goblins is pretty much the auction house. I run the auction house, the auctionator scan, and then I go into my enchanting tab and I see what makes profit. So you can see here it says whether or not how much something will cost to make in gold, what profit it is. So of course there's all your concentration things, and you're probably all aware of that. And if you're not, I'll have a quick chat about that now. Basically, you get concentration, it builds up every day, and then you can use that concentration to make a higher tier level item. So the gold level items usually, not always, but usually sell for the most gold in enchants. And you want to prioritize making those, but you're capped at how many of those you can make a day. So you can see here in this video, I'm selling a lot of the crystalline radiance, and I'm selling them at the silver level. I can make those pretty much indefinitely at the silver level with bronze level mats, and they're selling really well at about 200 to 300 gold profit per thing, per enchant. So what I do is I focus on selling those gold items, and then the concentration items, and then I have a look at the lower level stuff. So you can see here I'm also selling a lot of the enchant ring glimmering haste, and every now and again it's like somebody goes through and buys all of the enchants up to a certain level. They reset the auction house, and those enchants, those lower level enchants, the ones you don't expect to be doing anything, sell for really well. These glimmering ring enchants cost me about 60 gold to make, and I'm selling this for 107. I have sold these glimmering enchants for as much as 350 gold per enchant, and I have sold a lot of them at that price level. So it really just depends on what the market's doing at that moment. Now, there is a lot of competition to be number one, and the temptation can be there to dump the price, which is what happened here. They were at 250 gold, and then somebody dumped the price down to 107, thinking that was going to stop people like me from going to the front of the line. But it's just not. What you've done there is, if you're a person who does that, you've decreased the chances that you're going to make a handsome profit on that. And you're just going to get beat out by people who have a huge hoard of supplies like I do and can just keep listing on the auction house to be number one. So you might as well take the top tier one and take those higher sales when you can beat people who sit on the auction house like I did in this session. So you can, when you do beat them, because you will, I can't do it infinitely. I'll get distracted. I'll go make a coffee. I'll have to go to my mailbox. There's like 50 million things that could happen. And in that time, just selling one of those ring enchants would make you more than selling one at 107 gold. So just think about it when you're like, I'll undercut to be the front of the line. It's not going to stop people, and it's not going to work the way you want. So really think about it. So I have bought the Chant of Winged Grace and Oathsworn Strength and maybe Crystalline Radiance. I don't recall. But the last two, the Crystalline Radiance and the um, Chant of Winged Grace, it fell out of my head there for a minute. I bought those and they were quite expensive. The Oathsworn cost me 75,000 gold, but I earned that money back in like a week. So don't be afraid to put the initial outlay into buying these more expensive enchants, because it does pay off later, and they do sell really well. You can see here I'm selling level 2 level the crystalline radiance and the enchant of winged grace, and I'm making 800 gold on the enchant of winged grace as a profit, and about 200 gold on the crystalline radiance. That's insane. And those two enchants, they sell really fast. You can see it in the video. I'm selling them really, really quickly, not as quickly as the rings. And when you're listing the ring enchants, remember people have 2 rings. They often buy 2 enchants. So list 2 at a time. So list 2 ring enchants at a time in a bundle. When you're trying to get to the front of that line, you really want to capitalize on a person coming through and buying 2, which is what happens most of the time. Not always. Sometimes people will just buy 1, but for the most part, people are buying 2. But with those other enchants, you want to list 1 at a time. So you want to make like 20 and just sit there and list 1 at a time and run the scan, see if you're undercut, and list another one and cancel the old one so you're not scanning every time. And then just make a run back to the mailbox. You see I do it here. Make a run back to the mailbox whenever you get a minute to check it to refill up, and that'll save you a lot of time. During this session, I had to remake my Glimmering Haste and the Crystalline Radiance enchants a lot of times. I made the Winged Grace enchant a few times too, but that one is incredibly competitive, so it's a lot harder to sell those. I do sell them, but I'm not at the front of the line for as long as I am for the other 2, and you've probably noticed it here. But I was remaking these things in this session, and you can see up the top, I've had 77,000 gold in sales. I think I made it up to about 80. I was trying so hard to get to 100, but then my kids needed me, and I obviously went and did real life things instead. I didn't need the gold, so I didn't have to sit here and do this, but I just kind of really wanted to make it to 100. So I'll give it another go in the future and just see if I can do that. You need to remember with this, you can see there 80,000 gold. You need to remember when you do this, the 80,000 gold isn't profit. Like there is profit in there, but I am having to put in the cost of materials. So I'm probably making about 30% of that as profit. So this isn't an insane gold farm. Some of the other gold farms may actually make more gold than this, but this one gives you the ability to just kind of not do anything. Like if you love like the stock market and things, this is really a good thing for you. But I found just this was just enjoyable. It did feel like, to use my commenter's phrase, PvP, and it was just more fun than I thought it would be, giving it that dedicated time block. So if you've been watching this video and not just me rambling, you've noticed that there's been like periods of time, and I've sped this up for you. This was 44 minutes. This was a 44-minute block. There are periods of time where I'm just standing there and doing nothing. And that's because I've gone away and made a coffee, or I've gone to play with my kids or something. So I didn't sit there the whole time. There was periods where things were selling really well, and I was sitting there to be the front of the line and to add more to my list. But it's a pretty easy way to add gold to your repertoire in a low effort sort of way. I did sell 2 of the Tiberius pets today, the pet you get for the resonance crystals in Hellowfall once you've got the reputation. I sold 2 of those for almost 9,000 gold on this day as well. I think I only captured 1 of them being sold in this video, but I also collected the profit from the previous one in the mailbox at the beginning, I think. So those pets are selling. I know I had some people question whether or not pets were selling earlier. Scroll through, you'll find it. I think I even show you in the auction house log that it's sold. So those things are selling. Don't overlook them. They do take longer to sell, but when you're sitting here and doing this kind of thing, it doesn't hurt to be first. And those pets are 100% profit. In the when I'm buying my materials, I'm buying those during the middle of the day. I'm on the server Calistraz, so it's an oceanic server. And I'm finding that in the middle of the day, not at lunchtime, don't do it at lunchtime, but like at 10-ish on a weekday or 2-ish, the prices on the auction house are really low. And that's when I buy up my materials. If you've watched my other videos, you've seen, I show you inside my region bank. I'm showing you what I'm stockpiling for season 2. And you can see there, I just have tons of materials, and I've spent hundreds of thousands of gold stockpiling that. And I buy those when they're the cheapest possible. So the crystalline the thing you shatter, which I use with my enchants, and you should use, you should be fully specced out in that, or trying to be. It gives you a concentration refund. So it increases how much you get for your concentration having that shatter. And I just used the crystalline one because it's the cheapest. It goes for about 1 gold, but I have noticed in the evenings it can be as much as 5 gold to buy those. But I'm picking them up. I'm checking the auction house during the day when I'm on, and I'm picking those up for like 55 silver or 65 silver, and I'm just buying all of those when they're at that price, because the I only have to get either one concentration refund or one resource refund to earn back the gold from that. And you quite often get more than one of those during I think I'm at 15-minute buff for that at the moment, more than one of those uh, procs during that time. So I think I've covered this enough as like a crash course for how to do Goblin Gold PvP. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. This content comes out early for my mini goblins, and you can click on the link below if you're interested in getting that. But I just wanted to do a special shout out to Brit Malaka, Hallowed by Thy Game, and Heretic666 for joining my mini goblins. And your support just means so much. So thank you guys. I really wanted to just reach out and say thanks. This is a different gold video from what I would normally make. Normally, I'm sort of prioritizing gold farms, and I show you a little bit of this generally. But let me know in the comments if this is something you'd like more of. This is kind of a test run for me as to whether or not people are interested in this kind of auction house battle that I've been doing, and whether or not other people want to learn how to do it. I'm happy to make more videos on it if people are interested, but I can understand if looking at me sit on the auction house for, I think this video has gone on for 16 minutes now. If that's not your thing, just let me know in the comments and I won't make any more of these if there's like an overwhelming amount of people who don't want it. So just let me know there. I'm just trying new things. And if you have any other suggestions for gold videos, I'm happy to make them. We're getting towards the end of season 1, so we're kind of running out of new ways to make gold, except for the events. And I've listed videos for those, like the Lovers in the Air events and the Dark Moon Fair events. And if you haven't seen those, go check them out. You can make a ton of gold that way. But with the actual War Within content, we're really capped at what we can do at present until season 2 comes out. It's just doing the same things on loop at the moment. But if you've come across something that I haven't done before and you're happy to share, leave a comment down below and I'll make a video on it, and we'll see if we can help other people pay for their subscription too, like we do. So I'm going to leave you with that. I look forward to your comments and your feedback as to whether or not this is something you're interested in. And as always, remember, girls don't play WoW.